Okay, so this is going to be the last of the digital programs that you're going to be using. So Ultimaker Cura, this is where you kind of build what you're going to be 3D printing. I believe that when you set it up, you have to select the kind of 3D printer that you have, the kind of filament that you have. I honestly don't really remember because it's been a minute, and I'm pretty sure my partner probably did it for me and set it all up. But once you have all of that set up, there's a little folder here. You're going to select that, and that's going to open up all of your files. I'm not sure if you can see what I'm seeing right now, but it's basically just a file explorer. So I'm going to show you how to do the 2-piece first, and then I'll show you how to do the 1-piece. So I'm going to open up my regular rose heart. As you can see, it opens over here in the corner. I've only had it open up in the middle one time, and it was the wrong type of file. So typically, if you're using, if you know you've done it right, if it uploads in the corner like that. So what I do is I Control A to select everything, and I move the entire thing to the middle. So once I've moved it to the middle, then I start working with the 2 different pieces, right? The 2 different layers of it. So I have my middle layer, which is like what my Freshie is going to look like, and then I have my outside layer, which is the wall that goes around my Freshie, right? So I start by thinking about how big I would want this to be. I believe the one that I originally made was 4.5. I'll probably do this one a little bit smaller because, like I said, I thought that the 4.5 was a little bit too large. So what you can do, ignore all my million of tabs, just type in, because Cura Ultimaker doesn't work in inches, it works in millimeters. So inch to millimeter converter. So let's do, I think I did 4.5, let's do like 3.75 inches. That is 95.25 millimeters. And I want it to be that far wide. So that's going to be the red, right? That's going to be my X. So I'm going to change that. So right now you can see down right here I have uniform scaling. That's going to change it so that way my proportions are the same. If you uncheck that, then you can manipulate the X and the Y independently, but it'll change your proportions, right? So right now when I hit enter, it's going to automatically adjust my Y to keep the same proportions. Check it out. See? And so notice that changed my Z though, right? So typically Freshie molds are 1 inch thick. And that's just something, I mean, it's kind of common. Some people do like 1.25, but I don't think that's necessary. Do, like, again, preference. I do 26 millimeters always for my Z. So that's going to give you that thickness to create your mold so that way you can have that thickness for your Freshie, right? So now, as you can see, I have my wall. My wall is like super far away from the actual Freshie part, right? So this would give me like super thick walls on my Freshie, on my mold, I'm sorry, on my mold. So that would give me super thick walls on my mold. Obviously I don't want that. What I do is I select the Freshie part, and then after I've adjusted my dimensions, right, I take this percentage here, and I'm going to copy that, and then I'm going to select the wall, and I'm going to paste it into my dimensions here. I'm going to change both, and then I do 26 for the Freshie part, and I do 27 for the wall. And then I just kind of look, and I'm like, oh, that might be too thin for the wall, and I'll just click, for the wall of the mold. So I'll click the wall of my digital product, right, my digital thing, I'll click my lip, basically, and I'll just add to it. So let's say right now it's at 101.9234. Let's say I up it 5 millimeters, so I'm going to do 106. And then that would change this to 101. And then I'll look at it again. That's a little too thick. So then I would go back and subtract 3 millimeters. I look at that, I'm like, that looks okay to me, right? So remember, this is going to be printing in 2 different pieces. But like I said about the adhesion layer, you can also come over here and look. Be sure that the Freshie part of it doesn't stick up higher than the wall of your printed object, because you want the wall to kind of catch the silicone, right? So that way you can have that flat back. So that's just another preference thing. Like I said, I always do 26 and 27. That's what I found that I like. You can do 26, 28. You can do 30, 32, whatever your preference is. So once I have that where I want it, this is gonna be a cute little baby Freshie. So you're gonna click here at your standard quality. So one thing, I always have adhesion layers on, and then I do like a 20. So infill is I don't know how to explain it. I'll show you in just a second. So I usually do a 20 on the infill. You can do a 10. I found it doesn't really make a difference. I mean, personally, I don't really think it makes a difference. I just know that I don't like the gradual infill. So 20, and then I'm gonna hit slice. What slicing does is it turns it into the file that I'm going to be saving to an SD card and putting into my 3D printer. So when I hit preview, so this is what my finished object is going to look like, but this is how it's going to print. So you see all of these little like squares that it does, or like little diamonds that it does. That's the infill. And I believe the lower the number, the bigger the infill. Because I think if I were to do, let's see, I want to prepare, let's say I did like a 80 infill. And see, and I can already tell because at 20% infill, it was only 8 hours, and over here at 90% infill, it's 15 hours. So when we preview this, see how like compact it is the entire way? That's going to use a ton of filament. I'm not sure how that would work for the TPU or something, but like I said, I've found that I prefer 20. You can do 10 if you want to save even more. I've never tried a 0%. I don't know how that would even look. I feel like it would, I don't know. So once you have it sliced the way you want it, then you would just save it to the disk. You can change the name of it here. Save it however you want it. Like I'm going to change this to small rose heart. Save to disk. And then here it's going to ask me where I want to save it. See, it already puts the small rose heart here. I just save it to my desktop. That lets me know that it's something that I need to print. So that is how you do the 2-piece. I'm going to go to new project. I'm going to clear this one. I'm going to put in my 1-piece. And it's essentially the same thing. Notice it opened up in the corner. I start by control. Whoops, I did it wrong already. Let's start over because I didn't switch back over to top one. I didn't switch over to move. So first thing I want to do is I want to put it directly in the center. And then now I'm going to go to scale. And so I'm going to be working with them independently. And I'm basically going to do the exact same thing that I did before. I think it was 95.26, right? 95.25. Turn my uniform scaling on to keep my proportions. And I'm doing it wrong because I'm going to put that here. I'm going to change, that's wrong. Yeah, the proportions look off. Okay, no, that should be right. So, yeah, turn off my uniform scaling. I'm going to turn this to, I'm actually going to go up a little bit just because I know that there's that little bit on the bottom, right? So let's do like 28 here. I honestly don't know that that's going to make a difference just because when I increase the Z, it's also going to increase the bottom on that. And see, that's one of those things that you would have to figure out because I don't really, I tried one pieces and I didn't like it. So I didn't really work on, because I use PLA, so I couldn't get my silicone out. So I didn't really work on trying to tweak it and fix it to where I wanted it. So let's take this. I don't like that because these two should be the same. Okay, yeah, that looks right. So yeah, because whenever you do your uniform scaling, your X and your Y, the percentages should be the same. And then your Z will change. It will have a different percentage, right? So let's select this percentage. Now we're going to change these X and Y's. And so I did 28, let's do 29 here. And then I believe I went up just a little bit, so I did like, what, 3, actually, I think I did 103 and 98. And then, as you can see, it's all together, it's all one piece. So let's see how it looks whenever we preview it, because I'm curious. I'm not going to save this because I'm not going to be making a one piece, right? But just so that way those of you who will be making one pieces will see. And to see how it takes longer, like 3 hours longer, probably but that's because it has to build an entire bottom plate, right? So it builds the bottom plate, and then it's going to fill it all the way up, and then it starts doing your heart, like your actual part, and it goes up, 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 up. I guess it doesn't, it's a pretty decent, it should be a pretty decent thickness. I hope that way your mold's not too thin. But yeah, so that is the Ultimaker Cura portion. So then you're going to save these to an SD card. At least the 3D printer that I use needs an SD card. Yeah.